and I took Lake City by quote-unquote a billion in the play-in game.
On the North Idaho Prepcast, we're all about that North Idaho life.
Man, you talk about Wallace and what they've been able to do this year. Quietly just being, the steady stalwart up north in District 1. They've been dominant.
From Bonners Ferry all the way down to Grangeville, we tackle the biggest stories in North Idaho sports.
This Genesee team is for real. We know what we saw last year. They're, I think in the driver's seat to repeat.
It's the North Idaho Prepcast with Ryan Scaggs. That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account, coming at you live on Wednesday, October 9th, just past 9 a.m. Pacific time. You can, of course, watch this podcast anytime on replay at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can also listen to this podcast at IdahoSports.com. Directly to the left of the main page article on our homepage, IdahoSports.com. All of our prepcasts are listed there. You just click on North Idaho Prepcast and you're off and running, or you can download this podcast wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in our North Idaho resident and expert, my esteemed colleague, Ryan Scaggs. What's up, Scaggs?
How you doing this morning? Had to hit the elevator button on my standing desk. So hopefully I wasn't distracting you by watching the camera slowly rise in the off screen.
Well, yeah. I was told by our boss at HQ that when we do these prepcasts, my head has to match yours. And so I always line it up before the show. And so you were down below. So I mirrored where my head was going to be relative to yours. And then you moved it. So I just had to move my camera as well. It's like playing that trick where you do it like this the rest of the time. Yeah. No, I'm good. Just ready for another busy week here in North Idaho. And obviously I've got the weekend off from calling games because I'm going to go elk hunting because hunting season opens tomorrow. So it's Wednesday here. So looking forward to that, my annual week off. So yes. Opening day of general hunting season is upon us in North Idaho, and there's so many great spots to go. You don't have to tell us where you're going because it's a lot of it's hush hush and
no Tellum Creek. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Knowing my luck, I'll run into somebody like, oh, it's the Prepcast guy. I'm like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? Playing hooky this week.
What tags do you have this year, Ryan?
So I've got the Panhandle B tag for elk, and then I always do the whitetail tag for deer. So I don't mess around with the deer because I get to hunt until December. Yes.
Okay, one quick story, and then we'll get into it because we have a jam-packed show. I lived in Nebraska for like almost 2 years as I was quote unquote working my way up the ladder in this industry. And it's obviously a whole different world down there. The winters are very mild. There's a lot of hail and like wind storms, tornadoes almost, because you're kind of in the middle of the country. But they had a zoo in the town I lived in, Scottsbluff, Nebraska. And I kid you not, one of the exhibits at the zoo was a white-tailed deer. And I'm just like, those are just pretty common where I'm from. You don't have to go to a zoo to see a white-tailed deer.
Of all the animals to choose, it's like the state animal of Nebraska. Like, here's a deer. You never seen one before? There you go.
Yeah, I was just pretty amazed when I saw that at the Scottsbluff, Nebraska Zoo. But I digress. We are going to get the show started today with some swimming results. We got a request to talk about some swimming. The problem with the swimming, Ryan, is that, the last swimming competition for most teams came back on September 14th at the Croc Center. Post Falls hosted a swim meet. And then like a whole month has gone by where nobody's been competing. They've just been practicing. So with such a long layoff in the pool, it's been hard to talk about those results. But because we do have a big meet coming up this weekend. It's going to be on Saturday at the Croc Center in Coeur d'Alene. Lake City is the host school. I'm not sure how many teams are going to come. Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Lakeland. I mean, those are kind of the usual suspects. But let's revisit what happened the last time everybody was in the pool, and specifically, Lake City, because Lake City girls have had quite the little run here over the past couple of years. Lakeland also has been very good in 5A swimming also. And the state swimming is at the start of November. So we've got about a month here before we build up to the final push to state.
But there's so much Marco Polo you can play between then and now. So
right. For sure. So back in September, Post Falls hosted so Post Falls hosted a pretty big swim meet. The highlights on the boys' side: Isaac Thorpe of Coeur d'Alene High. He won 3 individual events: the 100-yard freestyle, the 100 breaststroke, the 200 medley relay. He was part of the winning relay team there. On the girls' side, or I guess for the team scores, Lakeland won the boys' title at 167. They also won the girls' title at 94. Boy, I gotta be honest here, Ryan. I'm looking at the results here from the Coeur d'Alene Press. They did a good job of writing this up. The team scores don't make any sense to me. There's no rhyme or reason. There was a ton of teams at this meet. Post Falls, Timberlake, Wallace was there. But in the article it says it was only a 4-team duel between Lake City, Lakeland, Coeur d'Alene, and Kellogg/Wallace. But I know there were other teams there. So did we have like 2 separate quad duel? I mean, I don't.
Or was there partial teams that competed as well and that didn't have the full array of swimmers? I mean, there's question marks. Maybe our good friend Max can settle some of this too, because he might have some results if Sandpoint was there. But
I mean, yeah, because you duel all the other schools, right? You're basically stacking up your times versus their times, and so Lakeland did very well. I mean, they beat Lake City. Coeur d'Alene then beat Lake City. Coeur d'Alene beat Lakeland. That was all on the boys' side. Coeur d'Alene beat Post Falls. They beat Timberlake. They beat Wallace. I mean, we could be here for half an hour talking about all the results. Long story short, here are your event winners. How about that? We talked about the 200-yard medley relay from Coeur d'Alene: Dawson Cushman, Jackson Oswald, Jace Voller, Isaac Thorpe. Andrew Davis from Coeur d'Alene won the 200 free. Cushman won the 200 individual medley from Coeur d'Alene. George Lavey of Post Falls won the 50 free. Zach Linford from Lake City wins the 100 butterfly. Thorpe, we talked about, he won the 100 freestyle. Jace Voller from Coeur d'Alene wins the 500 free. Post Falls took the 200 freestyle relay. George Lavey, Taylor Holding, Tucker Rigg, Chance Seeds. Cushman won the 100 backstroke for Coeur d'Alene. Thorpe won the 100 breaststroke for Coeur d'Alene. And then Lakeland took the 400 freestyle relay with Sam Harrell, Owen Call, Christian Peck, and Garrett Snyder. On the girls' side, a lot of Lake City at the top. They, of course, won the state championship, their second consecutive last year, albeit in somewhat of a controversial fashion, right? Timberline thought they had defeated Lake City and then had a swimmer who had swam too many events and was disqualified. And so Lake City got the win there, but they are aiming for the 3-peat in the pool this year. At last month's Post Falls invite at the Kroc Center, Lake City won the 200 medley relay with Aaron Griffith, Quinn Taylor, Tilly Sobeck, Trista Slife. Aaron Griffith won the 200 free. Sobeck won the 200 individual medley. Quinn Taylor from Lake City won the 50 free. Reagan Greiner from Coeur d'Alene won the 100 butterfly. Trista Slife for Lake City won the 100 free. Sobeck won the 500 free for Lake City. Lake City won the 200 freestyle relay. Sylvia Strow, Taylor Young, Clara Strow, and Aaron Griffith. Alina Gonzalez from Coeur d'Alene wins the 100 backstroke. Taylor from Lake City wins the 100 breaststroke. And then Lake City wins the 400 free with Slife, Strow, Sobeck, and Taylor. So Lake City won like 80% of the events. That bodes well for Lake City as they get ready for this meet coming up Saturday at the Kroc Center.
Yeah, and you look at the historical success of this program too. I mean, Lake City has been a powerhouse in the swimming side of things, and you look at Lakeland's been kind of the upstart that's really been doing well too at the 5A ranks. And Sandpoint historically has been competitive as well, and Coeur d'Alene certainly has been flexing a little bit and been top 4 finishes at state a couple times. So swimming's alive and well here in North Idaho. It's been really, really good and competitive, and so I'm sure the kids are looking forward to getting back in the pool. And having some competitive events. I mean, there's only so many times you just, go to practice and it becomes a little monotonous, you would think, after a month off. So a chance to get back out there and get some times and some competition would be good for all these kids, especially as, state comes up. And I believe they do state every year down at the Y down in Boise. And so, it's typically been North Idaho versus the SIC teams. And that's kind of how it's been in swimming, at least for the last few years. And I wouldn't expect probably much to be different than that this year, but I look to the north. I mean, there's some power teams up here that do very, very well in the pool.
Yep. And I'll admit, swimming is not my strong suit. So hopefully what I was saying there made sense. But
yeah, because I was like, where's the 50 dog paddle? Because that might be the event that I would have entered. But yeah.
I can swim, I can, if I ever, if I was ever out on Lake Coeur d'Alene or Hayden Lake and I had to tread water, I'd be okay. Like I could do okay. And I can swim to shore probably. I'm not going to be winning any races or anything, but my swimming skills are there. My knowledge of swimming competitions is not. But you asked, and our guy Max Oswald from the Bonner County Daily Beat delivers. How about this? Check this out. You talked about states always in Boise. Sandpoint went down to Boise and competed at the Brave Knights Invitational. That must be co-hosted by Boise High and Bishop Kelly, I'm assuming. But check this out. Sandpoint's Lou Faust, Cale Wright, McCoy Jensen, and Kai Levitt broke a 25-year standing school record and a Brave Knights Invitational record in the 200 freestyle relay with a time of 1 minute, 33.18 seconds. The record, which was set in 1999, featured current Sandpoint High head coach Greg Jackson. And then
so I'm going to go ahead and take my microphone and I'm just going to send it to Max and you can start doing the prepcast with him. This cat's off, Max. Ask and you shall receive.
Yes. In addition, the girls, Riley Bamer, Raina Montecchi, Mia Driggs, and Ava DeLue set a new Brave Knights Invitational record in the 200 freestyle relay. So Sandpoint swept the 200 freestyle relays and set new meet records. And on the boys' side, they set a new school record. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And thank you, Max. We really do appreciate you because you helped us out. Talking about swimming, it's not, like you said, a sport that's not necessarily our forte. Like I joke around, I can swim too, but it's more along like the competitive side of it. And I wouldn't stand a chance against some of these kids. I've seen them at the Croc Center. They work extremely hard. And, I know that Sandpoint to get that school record and get the meet record too, especially one that stood so long with this program that's had so much success. That's awesome. That's great for those kids and congratulations to them.
And we're very lucky that we have the Croc Center here in Coeur d'Alene, because like over in East Idaho where I used to live, there's like one swimming facility in Idaho Falls and it's outdoors. And so there's so many schools that compete. Like some schools are like practicing at like 10:30 at night outdoors in October. And then like in Pocatello, Idaho State University used to have a pool and they just kind of stopped maintaining it. And so the Pocatello schools are now like they have to swim outside too. And so we're very lucky that we have the Croc Center here in North Idaho.
Yeah, sure. That's a great facility too. And you've got the bleachers up above. There's spectator seating and everything. They accounted for having meets and hosting, and it's been a great facility. And it gets used quite heavily by the teams up north to compete. And I know that there's a facility down at University of Idaho. They've got their pool down there, and then obviously I think Lewiston practices in Clarkston at the Soton County Aquatic Center. So, there's some indoor facilities kind of scattered throughout the area. I think Moscow, like the city of Moscow, has an indoor swim facility as well. So, there's opportunities for these communities, which is awesome.
And U of I has a pool. Also, University of Idaho. So, a lot of good swimming up here for sure. Okay, let's switch gears and go to postseason competition. Postseason golf and soccer is upon us. Let's start with golf. We kind of previewed it on last week's show, the district golf tournaments for 6A and 5A, the Inland Empire League taking place, and state now is this weekend. But how did it go at districts? Well, let's start with the 6A competition. It was at the Coeur d'Alene Golf Club right here in Coeur d'Alene. Grant Potter from Coeur d'Alene is your boys medalist. 1 under par, shot a 71. Coeur d'Alene also won the boys title with a team score of 303. Lake City finished second at 328. That's a good
25 stroke win. That's crazy.
Yeah. Only the top team advances to state. Otherwise, Lake City and Post Falls can send individuals, and only the top 3 qualifiers get to go to state. And so that was Grant. Oh, wow. So they don't even get that much. Okay. Grant Potter from Coeur d'Alene, of course, won it. Ben Falk from Coeur d'Alene and Hunter Paquin from Coeur d'Alene finished in a tie for second. So those are your 3 individual state qualifiers. Coeur d'Alene gets to send the whole team. So basically it's going to be the Coeur d'Alene quintet of Falk, Potter, Paquin, Brady Rubert, and Dylan Cook. That's all that's going from North Idaho on the boys' side.
And you look at that list of kids, though. I mean, those are all dudes that can play. And Coeur d'Alene's they've been shooting low scores all year. They're going to be competitive as heck at state. And we wish that Viking team the best of luck. That's a solid group of kids. I mean, we watched them with I think it was 3 of their varsity guys out 2 weeks ago win a tournament. So, I mean, that tells you the depth within that program and within that team of how well they can play.
Girls side, same story. Coeur d'Alene sweeps the top 3 spots for the state qualifiers. Ella Wilson, you're an individual medalist at 77. Maddie Riley takes second at 83. Sophia Vinali at 84 finishes third. Coeur d'Alene runs away with the team title, 333. Lake City second at 429. So you're talking about almost a 100-stroke win for Coeur d'Alene. So the Coeur d'Alene quintet of Wilson, Riley, Vignale, Josetta Williams, and Stella Dietz will go down and compete at the 6A state meet as well.
I believe is that in Pocatello?
It is at the Highland Golf Course. So
yeah, right there by the football stadium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, yes, in terms of 6A state golf, a team from Boise always wins it. Just like every sport at 6A, the bids, the representation really gets tilted towards District 3. Rocky Mountain girls have been on a run the last couple of years. On the boys' side, Eagles always pretty good. Rocky certainly could be in the mix, but in terms of state hardware, it's pretty much maybe we'll have an individual come home with something, but team-wise, no chance for Coeur d'Alene. Unfortunately, I think. But
yeah, that's just the way it kind of in those individual sports you see it run at the allotments. It's really hard for a team up north to win, and like in tennis. You see it. You have to really have basically you have to have a state champion and another podium finish to even have a chance. We can talk to Sean Kane about that one. He's won a ton of them at Century, but that's just kind of the way it is with the way that allotments are set and the qualifiers get going. I mean, that kind of puts you a little bit behind the 8 ball, but it still doesn't mean you can't have a fantastic individual effort that shows up and either gets a medalist award or gets a podium finish.
Yep. All right. What happened at the 5A district golf tournament? This was at the Links in Post Falls. And on the boys' side, your team title goes to Sandpoint. They edged out Moscow by 5 strokes. 334 for Sandpoint, 339 for Moscow. I mean, look at how close all 4 teams that were there competing. Sandpoint, 334. Moscow, 5 strokes back at 339. Lakeland was only 9 strokes back at 343, and Lewiston only 11 strokes back at 345. All 4 teams competed exceptionally well. This was a hard-fought district title for the Sandpoint boys.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about if you're out there looking for some ringers for a scramble this spring, you might want to be calling some of those coaches up to get some of those guys to join your team. Like, there's some competitive kids at every one of those schools. 5A has been ultra competitive all year, and it was no shock, I think, at the Lynx, a course that's wide open. It's long, so if you got guys that can hit long, you're going to be competitive. But also the greens are extremely forgiving. And, we saw that the competition, I mean, that level of play really showed itself.
Nothing exemplifies how competitive and balanced this district tournament was than the top 4 finishers. The top 4 qualifiers automatically qualify for state, Ryan. The top 4 placers represented the 4 different schools. You had Tyler Zachary from Lakeland win it by shooting a 70. Chase Lovell from Moscow finishes second. Bodie Ekret from Sandpoint takes third, and then Caden Orton from Lewiston finishes fourth. So those 4 all get to go to state. Sandpoint and Moscow both get to send their teams to state. The top 2 teams get to go. So Sandpoint will send Bodie Ekret, Logan Roos, Micah Young, Everett Gilman, and Cooper Zimmerman. Moscow will send Chase Lovell, Keaton Clark, Cooper Trout, Cohen Miller, and Trayden Cummings. I got to be honest. Chase Lovell, wasn't he at St. Mary's last year, or Potlatch?
I believe he goes to Potlatch, and I think he plays at the nearest competitive school.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I know Chase Lovell can really ball on the basketball court for Potlatch.
Yeah. Pretty sure we talked about that at the North Idaho Hall of Fame banquet, was that he plays baseball, and I think he plays baseball for Potlatch too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's baseball and basketball at Potlatch, but plays golf at Moscow in the fall.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Good luck. Yeah. Good luck to our North Idaho golfers. Girls 5A district title goes to Sandpoint. This one, not as close. Sandpoint girls run away with it. They shoot a 310 to win. Lewiston took second at 415. So you're talking about a 95 stroke victory for Sandpoint on the girls' side. Sandpoint also swept the top 4 spots, Ryan. So they're sending all 4. So it's basically the 5 Sandpoint girls are going to go to state. Lewiston will get to send their team as well. But Taylor Meyer is your individual medalist with a 75. Reagan Samuels took second, 2 strokes back at 77. Then we had a tie for third with Alexa Twinstra and Demi Driggs. They each shot a 79. In addition to those 4, Claire Lautzenheiser will also go to state from Sandpoint. And Lewiston, even though they didn't have anybody finish in the top 4, they get to send their team because they took second. They'll send Cora Lott, Josie Hemphill, Shelby Arellano, Destiny Ellenwood, and Kaylin Kelly there. Sandpoint girls. So now we're talking about state. It's down at Burley at the River's Edge Golf Club there. A lot of years, it is Twin Falls, Bishop Kelly, both boys and girls. They always seem to be the 2 teams that are competing for the title. I will tell you, I think Sandpoint has an outside shot at the team title. Really, it's going to come down to Lautzenheiser in that number 5 slot on the scorecard, I think.
Yeah, and we've seen, that lineup kind of trade off throughout the year of who is either the medalist or who's finishing in the top 3 at the respective tournaments. I mean, Max can back us up on this one. There's, girls in that lineup that can shoot lights out if they get on. I mean, that team is really tough. So like you said, Lautzenheiser, if she can have a couple of respectable rounds, she's going to keep that Bulldog team right in the mix for a team title.
Yep. So we will see if the Sandpoint girls can certainly a top 3 finish is definitely in play. Outside shot at getting the state title, but boy, Twin and Bishop Kelly always seem to be the 2 that are fighting there. Okay, let's move on to postseason soccer. By the way, all of the district's tournament brackets are on our website, IdahoSports.com, right at the top of the homepage. You can't miss it. There's a link for boys soccer. There's a link for girls soccer, and we will update all of the brackets there. We have started postseason play, Ryan, in the 6A and 5A ranks. The 4A will get started. They saw some regular season matches to sort out. But let's just take a look. There are 5 teams now in that 5A Inland Empire League. So basically 5 played 4 yesterday in essentially a lose or go home, win or go home play-in game, essentially. And so Lakeland, the 4 seed, hosted Lewiston, the 5 seed. We knew this league was balanced top to bottom all year long. And it was Lewiston who got the road win 3-2. They score a sophomore, Wyatt Umfleet, scores in the 65th minute to propel the Bengals to the 3-2 win. And now Lewiston advances in the bracket. They will take on number 1 seeded Sandpoint.
Yeah, and you said, I mean, you nailed it. The competitive balance within this conference is kind of showing itself. Lewiston, the 5 seed, getting the quote unquote upset over the 4 seed, but a Lewiston team that can play with anyone. And you look at Sandpoint, it's been on top a lot of the year, trading blows with the 6A Coeur d'Alene program, and it's going to be competitive once crunch time hits and we get towards the semis and championship within this district tournament. It's going to be really telling to see how things shake out.
Yep. So now you have Lewiston at Sandpoint this Saturday, 2 p.m. You've got Post Falls as the 2 seed. They'll host Moscow, the 3 seed, on Saturday as well. The 2 winners will advance to the district championship match where, again, 1.5 bids are available to state. So whoever takes second will have a chance to qualify for state via a play-in match. So we will certainly keep an eye on things there. 5A Inland Empire League. On the girls' side, same thing, a 5-team bracket. You had Post Falls, the 5 seed, at Lakeland, the 4 seed. They will play today. So that first game is today, Ryan. And then they will, the winner of that will move on to play number 1 seed Lewiston. Moscow, the 2, will host Sandpoint, the 3. That will be Saturday as well. So
I could realistically in girls see 2 teams making it into the state tournament here in 5A. I really, with the 1.5 bid, Lewiston's playing lights out, but then you look at, the mixed Moscow or Sandpoint there, either one of those teams could go down and in a play-in situation, steal a win. I mean, that's not out of the question at all.
Yep. It's a little more simple at the 6A level. It's just Lake City and Coeur d'Alene. They're going to do a best of 3. So on the boys' side, Coeur d'Alene is the quote-unquote 1 seed. So they will host the first of the best of 3. They're basically going to play Saturday at Coeur d'Alene. Then they'll turn around and play the second game on the 15th. That's next Tuesday at Lake City. And then if necessary, the third game swings back to Coeur d'Alene next Thursday. Same schedule for the girls, just flip the venues. Lake City's the 1, Coeur d'Alene is the 2. So Lake City will host Saturday morning, and then it'll flip to Coeur d'Alene for game 2 next Tuesday. Game 3, if necessary, reverts back to Lake City for game 3. 1 bid available to state there. The boys race in particular is going to be really interesting to see. I could see this series going all 3 games.
Yeah, and you could realize, I mean, you think about it too, is that you go from turf to grass to turf in a 3-game series. If it goes that distance, the difference in play between the 2 surfaces, it does make a difference. I mean, you can see the play kind of change a little bit, and which surface favors the goalkeeper. You can be tracking the teams because I know Sandpoint also plays on turf. So that'll be interesting to see how those things shake out. And I don't know if Lewiston, if they're going to host on their new field or not, or they're going to continue to play out there out by the airport. But it'll be interesting to see, if Lewiston wants to take advantage of a new playing surface, or they've been playing on grass all year. They keep riding it out in the playoffs at 5A. But yeah, there's just something to kind of keep in mind, that the differences in playing surfaces with those programs and where they play, it kind of can make or break a team.
Yep. So that's what's going on in the soccer ranks. Let's go to cross country. Some of our North Idaho teams went over to Spokane to compete in the annual battle for the 509. Coeur d'Alene boys, of course, did phenomenally well, but along the way, Zach Servey-Skinner, the fantastic senior, Max Servey-Skinner. I don't want to get because both Max and Zach run. Max Servey-Skinner, and they're both seniors. Max Servey-Skinner set a new course record at the Spokane Polo Grounds with a time of 14 minutes, 42.5 seconds. That's incredible.
We got a chance to do that Hall of Fame banquet back in April, and they kind of go through the accolades of the teams of the year and stuff like that. And we knew Coeur d'Alene was really good in cross country last year. We saw them go to the Nike regional and then the national meet. That they're every bit as good this year. That's the scary part. I mean, and so I guess that the 509 now belongs to the 208. So Coeur d'Alene goes over there and gets a huge win over some historically great programs too. I mean, you look at teams like Shadle Park and Meade and some of those Spokane schools that have historically been so strong, and to go over there and knock off some of the best teams in the state of Washington. I mean, you look realistically, this team, I mean, they're your favorite at the state meet. I mean, in my opinion, it's not even close, but can they best what they did last year? That's going to be the telling thing of this team is, can they go have more success than they did last year at the regional and national meets? That'd be really telling to see what this Coeur d'Alene program really is when they get beyond state.
Yep. It was split up into a black division and a red division. I think black is for the bigger schools. Red is for the slightly smaller schools. So Coeur d'Alene wins the boys title in the black division. They sweep the top 3 spots with Max Servey-Skinner and then Zach Servey-Skinner and then Wyatt Carr. That was your top 3. On the girls' side, University High from Spokane won the girls' title. Coeur d'Alene took second. Highest placer was Hazel Kunkel from Lake City. She took 4th overall in the varsity black division on the girls' side. And then in the red division, Moscow won the boys team title with a total of 142. Highest individual was Caleb Royce from Timberlake. He took 2nd overall. And on the girls' side, Moses Lake wins the title there. Lake City, highest placing Idaho team, they took 3rd. And the highest placing individual was Vanessa McLaughlin from Timberlake. She took 3rd overall as well. So nicely done for our cross-country runners. Volleyball. We had a lot of tournaments going on this past weekend. Still trying to get caught up on all the results on IdahoSports.com. Should be done by today. You had the P and Lentil Spike Off in Genesee. You had the Dig Pink Spartan Showdown hosted by Timberline of Weippe. I can tell you Clearwater Valley won that tournament. Way to go, Lady Rams. And then you had a couple of North Idaho teams, Lake City and Lakeland. They went down to Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian for the Rocky Mountain Invite. Very good, tough competition. Pretty much 6A, 5A state contenders, and then Melba, like the best 3A program in the state. And that's what it was, kind of the elite of the elite. Lakeland in particular got to face some of their 5A contemporaries at the top of the polls in Pocatello and Bonneville. Now, Lakeland dropped both of those matches. I believe it was 3-2 to Pocatello, 3-0 to Bonneville. But for Lakeland, now they can come back home and say, okay, we have seen some of Idaho's best at our level. Here's what we have to improve upon. I'll be very interested to see if they get a rematch with any of these teams at state.
Yeah, and Lakeland's back at full strength now. I mean, they got Zion Munyer back in the lineup after a month out with a knee injury. She's back, and they won last night. And I mean, this Lakeland team is, you picked them as a dark horse favorite for a state championship. I wouldn't shy away from that pick still. I mean, they took some lumps from their 5A contemporaries, but you can learn a lot in those situations, and especially, a state-like setting. You go down to Rocky and there's, the best of the best from all the classifications, and, you can adjust. I mean, you look at how it goes, and if you can get on a roll, coach seems to get that group going really well. This Lakeland team is really, really good, and I still wouldn't shy away from that pick as being a dark horse favorite for a state championship, certainly playing on the either the semifinals and finals, maybe in 5A. So if they're not the champion, they could certainly be a medalist.
For sure. Okay, let's wrap up with football. Quick hitting highlights. Coeur d'Alene battles the number 1 team in Washington, Camas,
yep.
Right? And they lose by 10, but I mean, for Coeur d'Alene, they're getting it's the same old story. They're getting no respect from anybody statewide. They had one really bad game at Lewiston, a game they win 9 times out of 10. Whatever. Coach Amos says, continue to doubt us. We're totally fine with that.
And that's the thing, is like, you saw it last year too. And, with that group is that they get hot at the end of the year and they make it all the way to the state championship game. We're seeing, they beat Rigby early in the year. Rigby right now looks like a favorite for a state championship, or at least to make it to the championship game. We could see a rematch, Coeur d'Alene and Rigby in a championship game, which I believe would be up north this year. It would be in the Kiwi Dome if those two teams played. I know we're way out there future casting, and Rocky Mountain's going to listen to this and have something to say about it. But we saw Coeur d'Alene beat the brakes off Rocky last year in the playoffs too. So like those two teams aren't much different. With the exception of Coeur d'Alene losing a couple guys to graduation, but they're still extremely talented. This Vikings team offensively, when they're clicking, they're as good as anyone in the state. Defensively, they've got tackle machines at all positions and at all three levels in the defense. On the line, a linebacker, they're absolutely loaded at linebacker, and the backside of that defense is safety, especially. They're as good as anybody in the state. So if they can have clean games, keep Caden Simmons clean in the pocket, that Coeur d'Alene team is very, very tough to beat. We're going to see their first big test next week when they take on Post Falls, which really looks like the de facto 6A championship, unless Lake City can pull a shocker over Post Falls. But you can see both those teams making it into the playoffs realistically. And Coeur d'Alene wants to shift that power back up north in 6A. To kind of repeat the success they had in the early 2010s. And this team looks really similar to some of those teams that they had play, 10 years ago.
Yeah, you mentioned if Coeur d'Alene and Rigby tangle in the Kiwi Dome, the last time that happened was that all-time thriller, triple overtime
shootout. Yeah.
56-50 was the final.
Give me that right in the veins, man. If we get that game, I'll take 3 doses of that one. That was an awesome game, and if we could see that one again, I know Rigby wants another chance at him.
Yeah, for sure. Here is Sean Kane, our East Idaho Prepcast host. He says, we'll know a lot when Rigby plays Madison this weekend. The bracket could be very important for sure.
Yep.
And if you want a full breakdown of statewide, what's happening this weekend, what are the big matchups, what are the playoff scenarios, what does the playoff picture look like, be sure to tune in to Gem State Game Day. It airs every Thursday live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, and then you can go back and watch it anytime Thursday or Friday here on IdahoSports.com. Yeah, they're right there. Gem State Game Day. Okay. Kendrick beat Potlatch pretty handily in a battle of previously unbeaten teams. We're still waiting next week. Kendrick Logos. We got it circled. Cool. Logos beats Oakley pretty bad in a non-conference battle as well. Here is Max Oswald. Cool note for Priest River. They had 6 interceptions, a school record in their 34-27 win over Colfax. Sawyer Stout also carried the ball 31 times for 193 yards and 4 touchdowns. Carries and yards are tied for the school record. Carries and touchdowns tied for the school record.
31 carries. He wore his cleats out.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you what, Priest River has kind of, last year it was kind of a you-know-what show there with the superintendent and everything that happened at Priest River. They started basically way behind everybody in athletics. They played kind of a modified hybrid varsity JV schedule for football last year. I had a coach in the 2A Central Idaho League tell me this preseason that Priest River has so much potential. And he added the caveat, if the administrators and whatnot, all the other political stuff can get out of the way and just let them play. He said Priest River really has potential. And they're a young team. They've got a lot of freshmen and sophomores that played last year and now are a year older. So that's awesome to see Priest River come through with that big win over Colville for sure.
Yeah, that win over Colfax. That's good for that group. Man, you look at we kind of didn't know outside of Grangeville who was going to finish in second in the CIL. Priest River is making that, planting that flag saying, hey, I think we're here, we're on the scene, and we're looking to be that number 2 team out of the conference this year. They've earned it. They've had to go the hard way. They've had some years of just, we'll just be frank, abysmal football. And, they've had bright spots with kids like Matthias McLean, who's playing at the University of Idaho. and doing very well for the Vandals as far as I think he was scout team player of the summer at their preseason camp. But that, you look at this group and what they're able to do with a young group and a young cast, but they got speed. That's something that they haven't really had, is that home run hitter. They found that guy in the running back, and they've been able to get, keep him clean, limit the turnovers. It's been producing into some wins for this Priest River team. So, if things progress and keep moving forward with this group, I mean, they could be a dangerous group for time to come.
Yep. Last game I was going to highlight here, it was a cross-district battle at the 1A level between Deary and Lakeside. This was a really fun back-and-forth affair. Lakeside pulls it out 40-38, the final. They trailed 38-34 going into the fourth quarter, Ryan. And in a shootout, Lakeside outscores Deary 6-0 in the final quarter of action. That was the only quarter that Deary didn't score. It was the most important one. So Lakeside continues to be undefeated. They're 5-0. Deary falls to 2-4. I'll tell you what, though, I come away with this more encouraged about Deary than Lakeside. We know Lakeside's good. Deary was kind of a question mark. What's their deal? They've made a quarterback change. They've gone to this freshman, Jarrett Keene. And I'll tell you what, he's been playing awesome. Nolan Hubbard has been playing, at other positions. He was the quarterback coming into the season. Hubbard caught a touchdown pass from Keene. Keene threw 3 touchdowns for Deary, had a 4th score on the ground. Jacob Meckling had 2 receiving touchdowns. Dawson Bovard had a rushing score. And then on the Lakeside side of things, Tyson Charlie, he had 1 passing touchdown to Josiah Dole, had 4 rushing touchdowns. Lane Morris had a rushing touchdown. For Lakeside, it's good that they're being challenged and pushed because they've had so many blowouts. And so really for both teams, I come out of this going, okay, these are 2 pretty good teams.
Yeah, Deary was the team I believe I picked to win the White Pine in the preseason. And, as far as what came back and the talent that was on that roster, I mean, there's a lot of bright spots, and the quarterback change has been a massive shot in the arm for that Mustang group. And I know coach is super high on this team, and I look at the rest of the conference kind of scratching their head going, oh crap, here we go. They get into the meat of league play now in the rest of the White Pine. They've got, I'm not looking at the schedule now. They still have to play like Lewis County Timberline down the stretch, but this Deary team is going to be formidable. I think they're going to kind of eke out of this one, maybe ending up the year 500. They could be winning with a winning record, I think, coming out of league play, going into the playoffs, which would be huge for that group. And, we looked at Lakeside and how good are they. Then they still have one more test out in front of them. They got to play Wallace again for a second time. That game's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a really, really interesting affair, going to Wallace to play that game with a Wallace team that's been playing hot lately as well since they stumbled to Lakeside. So, you look at both these clubs, I think they're both on the upswing, and that was a nice back and forth affair and a great win for Lakeside. Kind of, you say quote unquote winning ugly, but it's still a win in the win column. And you look at that team, they're ranked, they're undefeated in the year, and they've earned it to this point. And Tyson Charlie's one of the most exciting players in 1A, and he's been lights out at quarterback for that Knights team.
Yep. It's really going to be interesting when Wallace has the rematch with Lakeside. What does that look like? And then, Deary, Genesee coming up. That is also going to be a big battle up north. All right. Well, we have gone a little longer than usual on today's show, but man, there was so much good stuff to get to.
Blame the swimmers.
Oh man. Yeah. It started a little rough, choppy waters, but by the end of it, we were doing the backstroke and looking really good. So
That's right. All right. Really float with your hands on your chest, but yeah, that's kind of how we ended this one.
Yes, the gentle back float down the river, down the lazy river. The lazy
river, yeah. We took the long way.
Emphasis on lazy. Okay. Next week, special show. I'm not going to be here, and we are going to do a crossover episode between the North Idaho Prepcast and the East Idaho Prepcast. Yes, our East Idaho Prepcasters, Joel Richardson and Sean Kane, will be with you, Ryan. We will put the show in both podcast feeds. I have no idea what you guys are going to talk about. Probably who gets disrespected more from the people in Boise, and I can't wait.
Just an episode of pure hatred. That's all we're going to have for 45 minutes is just smack talk District 3. Yeah, that'll go over well. No, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to doing a show with Sean, and him and I go back and forth in a great manner. We're friends outside of this, so it's all in good fun. And Jill does a great job as well, and I'm excited that he's on board with us because him and Sean do a great show. And it should be a ton of fun next week, and we can do some playoff prognostications in football. We'll have some soccer brackets kind of shaping up. So, there's a lot to talk about next week.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then I should be back in 2 weeks, back to your regularly scheduled North Idaho prep.
I believe we do have some exciting stuff in football next week with Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls as well. So I'll have to keep tuned to that one for Gem State game day next week. And North Idaho game night's going to be a special one next week.
Yes, it's our Gem State game of the week next week on IdahoSports.com between Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls. And we've already got you on the sign-up sheet for next week's Gem State game day, Ryan, because there's so many big North Idaho matchups.
There's some huge games next week that we can talk about. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. So until then, though, we've got to get through this weekend. Enjoy the competition. Travel safe wherever you're headed. And for Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. Ryan, we'll see you next time on the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com.